live shopping isn't just a trend, it's the retail revolution, and Spree is leading the way. We're here to show businesses the magic of using video and social media to skyrocket sales and expand their audience. At Spree, we're all about making your sales savvy and your connections rock solid. So let's dive in and make your retail dreams come true.
And we're live.
Yes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Black Friday webinar focused on, what are my notes here? Gamification. I think we'll be a lot more knowledgeable about this by the end of the webinar because we are joined in the studio by none other than the CEO and co-founder of Spree, Christian Vester.
Yeah.
And Christian, can you please introduce yourself to the audience real quick?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, so I think you already introduced me quite well. Maybe there's not much more to say. But yeah, I'm an enthusiast when it comes to live shopping and in general just shoppable content. And I think live shopping is one of the most effective shopping content we have at the moment. So it's really, really interesting to talk about. And the subject about gamification is spot on due to how we get the best out of live shopping. Yeah.
Well said, well said. And we're not only joined by you today, but also another very, very experienced live shopping expert who is joining us remotely today.
Even more, actually.
Even more. Well, it's going to be a contest between you guys.
Yeah.
So I expect a lot of one-upping each other, but we'll try and keep it on topic. So Benjamin Henriksen is joining us today, the CEO of Let's Go Live. And you're joining us remotely from where, Benjamin?
From Grimstad in Norge, so Norway.
All right, shout out to our Norwegian viewers. So on the agenda today, we are, of course, talking about gamification. Now, as you all know, this is a topic that is very, might one say, relevant these days because of Black Friday and how we want to maximize the impact of our Black Friday lives. So the agenda on this particular webinar is that we will touch on the topics of simply what is gamification and how is it being used in e-commerce. Then we want to talk about how you can gamify your Black Friday live and to support keeping viewers watching and making them more engaged with your live content. And then also we want to touch on very practical steps that our viewers can implement in order to introduce gamification into their own lives. So that's the short description of what we'll touch today. But actually, what we want to do, because I'm a big fan of show, don't tell. So we want to actually introduce a bit of a gamification element in this webinar itself. So what I want to put to the audience now is we want to play a little game. And this game, we usually ask the question where the audience is joining from. But today, we want to make it a little bit more interesting that if you, as an audience member, type your country in the comments, we'll keep track of how which countries appear the most times. And by the end of this webinar, I have dedicated myself to well and truly perform the the debut of a lifetime, because I will be singing the national anthem of whichever country appears the most times. So this is a little carrot that you can look forward to if you write your country in the comments. All right, great. And we have Corey in the back here who will keep track of that, so don't worry about it. And we also have brought a neat little map that we can take notes on every time.
Hear what we got so far?
Yes, let's give it to us.
Okay, we have the Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
Yay, welcome
nice.
to the Netherlands.
All right.
Norway.
Perfect.
An easy one for you, Jens. We have Denmark.
Where is that on the map?
We have sorry, what was that?
Poland. Very nice.
Sweden. The Dutch. People want to hear you sing the Dutch anthem. We have Zimbabwe. No, just kidding.
I don't even know where that is on the map. Okay, good. We'll keep them coming.
Africa,
I'll keep them coming. But yes, let's then just dive into the agenda, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, gentlemen. Let's first define gamification. What is it? So we're being a bit pedantic here and using the textbook or dictionary definition as the launching pads here. So gamification, according to the dictionary, means the process of making something a game or more game-like. Now, why is this relevant? Why has this turned into a phenomenon? It's because it speaks to a very human instinct to want to engage with things that are challenging, that are fun, that are competitive. So that plays to just our desire for entertainment. Now, this has developed over time to have a very commercial purpose, and that's what we want to talk about today. Because what I'm showing here on the slide is, you know, enjoyment. That's a human instinct in us that dates back to the beginning of time. And when we convert that to any commercial medium, you actually increase the likelihood of engagement from a customer. When you introduce something that is entertaining, that is captivating, they want to interact with it. And in a commercial context, if you're selling products, this will then usually convert to people coming back to buy things again and again, depending on the design of this game. And the more people buy your products, the more they'll remember you, and that creates brand loyalty. So that's a journey that we are seeing, and we want to kind of unpack that today for the viewers so that they can understand how this is applied in e-commerce and live shopping in the most beneficial way. So I want to just briefly talk about gamification as from a historical point of view. So where did this originate from? Now, it actually is not a new term, even though it's been more popularized in the recent years. We can go all the way back to the 1970s, when the most prominent way of gamification arose in the form of airlines doing this, what we call frequent flyer miles. And this is a very American concept back then. It was the American Airlines that introduced this first. So they would basically incentivize their customers to fly more often by measuring how many miles they flew. And the more miles they would fly, they would accrue points that they could then get to spend on maybe free flights or upgrades and better seating arrangements, all this stuff. And you also might know it from the very, I'm sure many of our coffee enjoyers watching, they know these little cards that once you buy a certain amount of coffees or any other product, you get one for free at the end. So that's a very simple way to gamify the shopping experience, because it speaks to our human instincts. And then later on, they introduced this concept of tiers, and this is hotels. We would see employ this quite often, where you can have different ranks of customers, and that would bring prestige. And the more you would frequent a certain hotel chain, you would sometimes get free stays and upgrades to the penthouse suite, stuff like that. Now, I want to get to where we are nowadays, much closer to where we are in the 2010s. They introduced these most big, basically chains and companies. They introduced their mobile apps, and these apps are very intentionally gamified to keep the customer engaging with that brand. And you see this most popularly with McDonald's, you know, the McDonald's app. I even downloaded it myself just to try it. And I see all the ways that you can earn extra, you know, coin offers and extra meals by engaging with them. And I would then say that we're seeing the development now in the 2020s, where the most sort of interactive experience you can have, shopping experience, would be with these live shopping gamifications that we're going to look into now. So just lastly, I also want to mention that we are talking about Black Friday here because we're approaching that really busy shopping season now. So I want to just briefly share some really relevant stats that WooCommerce put out in terms of what they expect this year to, how they expect this year to pan out. So they surveyed all their merchants, and 66% of them have reported to seeing a huge increase in sales during Black Month. And of those surveyed merchants, 34% have said that this year they want to do something differently.
Okay.
They want to introduce a new element to make sure that they stand out from the crowd. And that's what I think this conversation we're going to have now is going to be super relevant to. So talking about gamification in e-commerce and live shopping, Christian, I would love to ask you then, how do you see gamification fitting into this medium? And why do you think it's a good fit?
Yeah, cool. And thank you for a really great introduction to gamification and also Black Friday and Black Week. And I think you're spot on putting those together, because maybe from my perspective, some years ago, you won Black Friday by having the best offers, right? But today it's really a war of attention. So there is a lot of consumers out there. They are ready to use some money because they know they can get a good price in the month, the week, or on the day. But it's all about, okay, who gets the attention? And I think both games in all kinds of ways, but also live shopping can be a great tool for getting there. And then also just to comment on why games are so powerful, I think if you look at yourself and when you are playing board games or sports or things like that, you like the challenge, right? You also can see there is an award in some way, and you're also super engaged. And I think especially the engaged part is key here.
Yeah.
Also, when we're going to talk about live sessions and how you secure to make something that is entertaining, but also where your target group is learning something, or even they are bringing something to the table as well, maybe through these gamified events. And I'm sure Benjamin is also an expert to give examples of that.
Absolutely. And Benjamin has been, you could say, on the front lines on many of these live productions where you have implemented gamification elements. So I wanted to ask you, Benjamin, what have you seen when you've been with customers who are doing lives, who are taking that extra step to gamify the experience? What has the experience been from customers? Could you tell us a little bit about how they've responded to these elements?
Yeah, the first part of my answer would be that what works really good is that we get people to stay for quite a long time. So that's more about the stats and the data, but it's also a answer that says that people want to stay longer than if they weren't gamified, and then it, from my perspective, it just makes sense because people are having fun, and when you are having fun in a situation with the brand, I think you're more willing to buy as well. So especially during the Black period, I'm doing my first Black live this year today, actually, and we're not even in November yet. And this will be with lots of gamification. And the reason why we're doing that is because we want to get people's attention. We want them to stay for even longer, meaning a high retention. And we want to create a even deeper relation with them, you could say. So that's what we want to do today, and that's because people really like it.
Absolutely. And just from more of the one might say this increases engagement, but how do you see, Christian, this helping businesses on a commercial level for something like Black Friday? Like, what are the things to kind of put it into context that would increase sort of their performance on a day like that?
Yeah. So I think first of all, what the games Benjamin are talking about will do is to make a passive viewer into an active viewer, and there are different good things about that. If you are doing your live shopping shows on Facebook and Instagram, when we get people to be interactive with the live, for example, through the comment field, then we know that the algorithm will push the live to a broader audience. So there we get something. But also just from the viewer's perspective, I think it's interesting to have a say. It can be a poll, or it can be a quiz, or it can be another kind of competition maybe. But the thing that you are engaged is, then it's also more likely that those who are viewing will also hear what you are saying about your product, your offer, and so on. And from a business perspective, that's what we want, right? Because in the end, we want to generate revenue, and we want to sell our products or our services to our target group. So I think that's the end goal, right?
Yeah. So it all feeds into itself very nicely. I think that makes a lot of sense. So Benjamin, we touched on some of the productions that you've facilitated for many customers who've gone live. We actually want to dive a bit into those. So I want to ask you if you can describe some of the very specific gamification elements that you've employed when you've helped customers go live with gamification. Can you describe kind of what they are? And then perhaps also to get the bigger picture, sort of grade them on a level of difficulty in terms of getting started with gamification.
Yeah, of course. And maybe before we zoom in on the specific shows, I can just add to Christian that what we want to do in this Black period is actually just to stand out. And a good way of doing that is just to making it sort of a blast. And beside that, people just want to be heard and seen. And that's actually what we want to do during this lives as well. So the main purpose for me when creating a live show is to make it feel live and not just a pre-recorded video. And the easiest way to do that is that people can see and feel that they are having an influence on the show that we are doing. And zooming a little bit in on that, we can do that in many sort of ways. We can do it with polls, as Christian mentioned, so people can see that it's having an influence that they are actually voting on something versus another thing. We can also do it regarding the prices of the products. Maybe actually this is not a part of the examples that I found today, but I can just say that one of our best formats in live shopping is actually a format. In Danish, we call it prisprisen. So the option that you have as a viewer is that you can have an influence on how low the price goes for a specific product. So through the comment section, you need to write a specific trigger word. It could be a low price or a deal or something like that. And the more people that does that, the lower the price will actually get. So this was just two examples, but maybe we should zoom in on some of the examples that we have prepared.
Absolutely.
And if I just can add to that, I mean, you have also made it where you should vote on which of these products should be the one we make a deal on, right? I think that's also super clever, because then you are really, if there is one of the products you really want a good deal on, you are super engaged and hope that the people around you also will vote for that and maybe write in the comment field, please, and so on. I think that's really also a great way to make it interesting.
For sure.
Yeah.
Bring in the
and just to add on your addition on my answer, Christian, I would just say that actually this is also a great way of creating FOMO, that when we do this one time, people want to see it the next time. They don't know what the great offers are, but they know that they can have an influence. And if they get the feeling of that in the first live that they watch from us, then they will also expect something spectacular, you could say, in the next live, and they will tune in second time as well. So many good reasons why to do gamification.
Awesome. And we're going to dive into the examples now. What we'll do, we'll actually go onto the Facebook Live so we can show the viewer which examples we want to showcase. Now, we also just want to mention that our viewers are more than welcome to post questions during this webinar that we'll try and answer throughout. But I will now hop over to the Facebook Live of some of the cases that we want to look at today.
And Jens, are you starting with normal?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. I can do an intro while you find it, maybe. So we start, we have tried to make this at different levels. So we start at maybe the hardest one. It's not to say that this is impossible for anyone to do. Actually, I think that everybody can do that if they spend some time on creating the concept and creating the visuals and so on. But this is one of the more harder lives to do. But while you see the screen that Jens are presenting, I will just say that this concept was last year's Black Week. In Black Week, this is the thoughts about the concept that we had in Black Week. Everybody are trying to sell customers something. So this was some kind of a anti-Black Week or Black Friday live show that we did. So every time that the two hosts, Martin and Line, every time that they tried to sell something, then they were put behind bars, as we see now. And if you, yeah, exactly, Jens. And then it was the job for the viewers to solve some of these quizzes and games. And when a specific number of people answered correctly, then 1 bar was removed. So if you go a little bit forward, Jens, then I think that maybe you guys will see that some of the bars has now been removed. And when all of the bars are gone, when all of the games and quizzes has been solved, then Martin and Line, they will try to sell a box of nice stuff at a really good price. But as you maybe remember, the concept was that this wasn't allowed. So when they do that, they just get to present the shopping code, and then they are getting put behind bars again, and then it's all over again. So the viewers are having an influence on when they can have great deals. And this is a nice way of spinning Black Week as something where we actually don't want to sell people any stuff, but they are most certainly buying stuff when it comes. Yeah, and maybe I should talk a little bit about the features.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we are of course using Spree. All the graphics is not produced in Spree or with Spree. It's something that we do in another layer. But what we use in Spree is the treasure hunt feature. And that's because we want to track how many right answers that people get. So when a viewer gets a correct answer, then a treasure is put in the viewer's basket, you could say. And then in Spree, in the control center, you know what that is if you've tried it before, but it's from where you control your live. Then you can see how many correct answers that have been given. And then, of course, it's possible for you to track when we should move on to the next game and next quiz and so on. So we are using here the treasure hunt feature. And you can also do that without the graphical layer. It's just to make it, more phonetically and so on.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned, Benjamin, you would classify this as one of the harder things to implement in terms of gamification.
Yeah, and my point here is that, of course, it's harder than some of the other examples that we would show, but it's actually not that hard. Of course, you need to spend some time on producing the graphical layers. You need a little setup on top of the Spree features that you're using, but you can actually also do this without the graphical layers. So for instance, these games that we see on the screen, they could just be on a paper that you have been printed. And then you, of course, are using the treasure hunt feature, which is a very go-to feature to use. But yeah, some of the more harder examples, you could say.
Okay. That's good to know then that even the hardest ways of using gamification aren't insurmountable. Like they are still quite approachable, and anyone who wants to go live with them can take inspiration from some of these examples. If we were then to ask you to maybe present an example that's less difficult but still brings some value, so let's call it medium level, what would you point to as the medium level?
Before that, I'll just mention that Normal, for those who don't know, Normal is a big chain here in Denmark. When you go into a Normal store, you are going into a store with a lot of products. So the main purpose for Normal, for doing this live, is actually to get people into the store. So the reward for participating in this live is to get people some nice gifts that they can collect in their local store. So that's the reason why Normal are doing this, just to add that. But if we should find a medium example, then we can do a quiz from the Danish national team, or we can find the nice bingo. It's up to you, Jens. Okay. So this is also gamification. You can decide now. It's totally up to you. You are having an influence on what we are presenting.
Are you gamifying my experience right now?
I am actually also my own, because I don't know what I will see now. Okay.
So I went with nice hair, so I hope you're prepared.
Yeah, okay. I have prepared some stuff. So this is a live show.
Okay, what
where
can
we
you tell
don't
us
sell-
about them? Great.
Yeah, it's a live show where we haven't prepared anything regards selling stuff. So this is mainly just creating a good time with our customers. It is yeah. So it's about the customer relation. So that's what we want to do here. We have got some sponsors in this live. It's all of the brands that Nice are selling. They have been sponsoring some gifts or some prizes that we can use in this bingo. So this is of course cozy, hyggelig, as we say in Denmark, when it's Christmas time, and I think it's a nice way to give our customers something. It's a little bit like a gift. We're not trying to sell them anything. We just want to have a good time with them. But moving on to the concept, it is bingo as you know it. So you can get one row, you can get two rows, and you can get all three rows. So one game of bingo has actually three small games in it. So of course there is a prize for each game, and yeah, that's bingo as you know it. So the viewers on the other side of the screen, they are having they're just playing as you normally do. But the way that we are doing a bingo game with the spree features is by using the raffle feature. So if you maybe Jens find an example where it says one row or two rows or something like that, what I present, then the people can see that when we see this,
Yeah.
there is a trigger word in the bottom of the screen. I think it will be there. So here it can be everything. So it could just be one row. It could be Christmas. It could be a Christmas tree or something like that. The reason why we want to have this word is that when people write that, we know that this specific customer or viewer are having, or at least saying that they have one row with numbers. And then it automatically sends a message to the customer saying, please send a photo of your numbers and let us know your phone number. And then we will pick a random one of the viewers and we will get on a call with them. And then they will be on a call in the studio with the hosts saying the numbers that they have. And if they are right, then they will get a prize. So this is actually very, very simple. We are just having a trigger word that people should write when they are having when they think that they have won a game, and then we call them on a phone. And actually, we just take this phone, put them on the phone, and then directly into the studio. So there's nothing high tech about this. It's just very down to earth and easy to go.
Nice. And it also speaks to games that people are already familiar with. I think most people have played bingo once or twice in their lives at least. So it's just bringing that familiar concept to the digital format, the live format. So it's quite interesting. Okay, so that was a good example of sort of a medium way that you could introduce gamification in your lives. So if we were to maybe speak to the ones who aren't as, let's say, experienced in doing gamified lives, if you were to introduce them to something that they could very easily implement, what would you point to there, Benjamin?
Yeah, then I would maybe choose the example that we have prepared from Elgiganten with one of my favorite spree tools, which is the poll that we have also talked about a couple of times during this webinar. So what we will see when we find the example is that we are giving, as we also told previously, we are giving the viewers, the option to choose whether we should choose one ingredient in our birthday cake over another. So I think in this example, they have, the option to choose between bacon and chocolate in our birthday cake. And I was, what can you say? I wasn't that happy about the viewers' votes because I really hoped that we should have bacon in our birthday cake. But they were nice to Rasmus and Hannah, the two hosts. So we, of course, got chocolate into the birthday cake. So this is not about selling. It's just because we had a Elgiganten birthday live. And as we told in the beginning, a good way of using gamification is to stage your life and do it thematically correct, you could say. So when it's a birthday, then let's build a birthday cake and let the viewers decide whether it should be a gross one or a good one. and you're also seeing a birthday cake on the screen. Now the viewers, you will say to them that they can blow the candles on the cake if they write, I don't know, remember the word, but if they write, for instance, birthday in the comment section, then the more they write that, the more candles will be blown out, and then they have the possibility to win a PlayStation 5. In this live, we are also having a birthday song that we are writing together with the viewers. So we have put some spots into the normal Danish traditional birthday song where we miss a word, and then people can say, okay, it's totally up to them to put in the correct word. So this was just a some examples on how you can gamify a birthday live, but the original example was of course the poll, and that's a free feature that everybody can use. And it's nice if you are selling stuff, as Christian said, which offer should we choose. It's also nice if you're just want to learn more from your community, from your customers. Which color do you like the most on this shirt, and all those kind of stuff. So you can use this spree poll feature for almost everything.
Yeah, and can I add something to that? Because I think it's important to mention that many of the companies that Benjamin are presenting here have at least 50 employees and above. But even though if it was just you and I, Jens, who had a e-commerce store and we were growing this e-commerce store, you can also make games where it's even more simple than what Benjamin is explaining, because you can just in the beginning of a live say, okay, so everyone who is writing birthday are in the group of people who can win this prize. And it's at the end of the show that we will pick the person who will win, right? And you have to be there to win. And if you say this, let's say 3 or 4 times during the show, you'll secure that everyone is participating. You will get a bit of their data because we can use that. And at the end, all the names will come up on the screen here, and then one of them will pop out, and that will be the winner. And all that you can do without technical knowledge. It's pretty much set up. If you have access to Spree's help center, you can actually go in there and see how you can do it step by step. But of course, if you are doing things like the ones Benjamin is presenting, it's maybe a bit more complicated to do by yourself, but even smaller stores can make these games as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's just to say that you don't need an entire team. Even with some of the examples that Benjamin presented, while they might be a bit more complex, it's not rocket science to actually get this into your live. But even if you want to do as little effort as possible and still go through with your live, you can do it in these simple ways.
Just to say that it really depends. Of course, Elgiganten, Normal, and so on, they really want to make something that is special and that is on brand. But if you and I just had a shop and we wanted to make a nice looking raffle where everyone could participate and someone would win at the end, that would be possible as well.
So it's very important to ask the question as a merchant that wants to implement gamification. What is it that they want out of this gamified element? Like, what is it ultimately that needs to bring them? So like you said, for a big chain, maybe branding is their most important priority. So not necessarily selling live, but creating a connection with the audience.
For you and I, it would be to if it was on Facebook and Instagram, it would be to trigger the algorithm so we would get many viewers. But it would at the same time also be to secure the eyes on the show, because we would make a great show. So this longer they would watch, this more they would know us, our brand, our offering, and so on.
Right. And that speaks to all the things that gamification can add to a live to make it more engaging and more likely that people will come back and want to see more, right? So that was really good with all the practical examples you laid out, Benjamin, as well. So if you had to summarize, let's say, some of the main takeaways here of what gamification can do to help a live perform even better, what would you say are like the key takeaways for the audience to digest?
I would say, as you guys are also talking about, that there is many beneficial things in gamification. One of the main things that we want to do with our lives is to get a lot of comments because of the algorithm, but also because the more people are active in the comment section, then they're having the fingers on the keyboard, and the more active they are, the longer they will also stay. So the retention, and the more that they engage with us, we engage with them backwards. The higher or the bigger, the better the relation with them will get. So it's really about algorithm. It's about relation and retention. And then I just want to add that many of these examples, they are simpler than they look. So my main message is just don't be afraid of all the graphical things and so on, because it's actually very simple, and we use the most simple and basic spree features that there is. So don't be afraid of the graphical things. And then I just want to, let people know how we develop these sort of concepts in our lives. And what we do is just to look at the world around us. So when we are having our Friday bar and we play maybe Who is Who, then we ask each other, okay, can we do this in a live, and how should it be done? And then we try to make a concept. And at Christmas time, when we are having our Christmas dinner, we are playing bingo. Okay, could we do this in a live? And how should it look, and how should it work, and so on. And then always look at it from the customer's perspective, because it needs to be easy. And as you said, Jens, bingo for an example, and Who is Who and all that, it's games and concepts that the viewers actually know. So we just need to put it into a live perspective, you could say. And my last point here is that actually now I forgot my last point, but my main takeaways is that do this because it makes people stay longer. It's good for the algorithm because it will spread without in the Facebook and Instagram and so on feeds. And then it's all about giving or getting the customer's attention. And if you do something that stand out, and many of these examples does, then people will look at it and they will stay for long. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And it also depends on what is it that we want in the end with our live, right? Because if with the example of Elgiganten, part of Currys, an electronic retailer, they are very deal focused as well. So there it's a good thing to make the poll about how low should we put the price, or what deal do you want?
Yeah.
But let's say if you're a beauty brand, it's not about price, it's maybe more about information about your products. Then it could be a quiz. So you really have to pay attention to what is said about the products. And then in the end, the one who knows most of the right answers can then be the one who wins, right? Yeah. So you can do it in different ways. And then it's maybe infotainment, right? Yeah. Because it's information
And I just want to make the point that it's worthwhile for people to also test different gamification elements to see what works.
Yeah.
It's not that they have to get it absolutely right on the first time, right?
And it can also be if you are making live shopping shows and your problem is that you don't get the conversions at the end, then we have seen someone who are just saying you can also just make it on the live, right? So everyone who checks out with a basket value above X, they will have a spin and then they can win something, because then you secure that people are checking out during the live, and that could also be an objective.
That's a very good point. And actually, while you were talking about that, Christian, I now remember my last point, and that's the main concern that I hear from my customers is, is this getting too crazy? Is it just for the fun of it, and so on? And we are a serious brand, and so on. And I really understand that. And I understand that you should be careful about doing those things. But I would just say that it's all about the packaging. It's all about the framing. And it's all about the way that we use it. So if you are, another example that we have prepared, but we don't have time for it today, is Primo Tours, for instance. And with Primo Tours, which is a travel agency, we are using the quiz feature, and then we are quizzing about all the great facts that the hosts are giving to the customers. So this is now education and infotainment, as you told. And then the second concern I hear is then people are asking, okay, you're a young guy, is it just you who likes gamification? And then I always say that, believe it or not, but I have a brother that's younger than me, and it's both him and my mother that plays in different aspects of life. So my mother, she likes to shop at Kane, a Danish retailer, and then it's framed in a way that she likes. And my little brother, he likes the McDonald's app, and then it's framed in a way that he likes. So games and gamification is for everybody. And my grandfather, he's playing Lotto. I don't know what it's called in English,
The lottery.
but yeah, the lottery, exactly. So every all ages are doing gamification, and all ages like it's all about the packaging, and it's also the packaging and the framing that doesn't make it unserious.
Very good point. So lastly, we just wanted to kind of see if there are any questions we can address from the audience members, because other than that, we would like to obviously, first of all, thank you for participating in this webinar. I think we delved into some really brilliant insights about gamification, and I hope the audience felt that they learned something here. I will then just...
You have a question. People are asking where can they get more information about Spree and gamification?
Oh, where can they get more information? That's it. Well, I mean, this webinar was a great first step, but if you want to learn more, I suppose one good thing that they can do is check out the next webinar that we're promoting, because we view gamification as one part of two elements. So one is the actual design, and then the other part is what we call shop attainment. It's this idea that when you go live, you're not just pushing product, you're actually trying to make a connection with your audience. So the next webinar that we are having, and I just want to share my screen with you now to put it in context for you. The next webinar that Benjamin and I will be hosting is exactly on this question of shop attainment. And we'll delve into the practical examples and why this makes sense for people to incorporate in their lives in order to get the most out of them. Because you're already going live, you already are connecting with that community you've built. Why not make that experience as good as possible, as engaging as possible, so that they keep coming back to exactly your brand every time they want to shop? So I think that webinar will pack a lot of information that can help you learn more in this journey. So,
and if you have a specific question, you can just write to me or to Benjamin about it. And if you want inspiration, we can send you links. You're also welcome to call Benjamin's company or Spree, and I'm sure we will be a lot of colleagues who are happy to help both with developing ideas and also to make them live in practice. So it's just to connect with us, and then we can help you.
And
then
I believe
maybe watch a live tonight. Tonight, Liggekassen is going live with the Black November live, and as you see behind me, we are having a balloon games with numbers and big prizes, and it's just a nice way of doing a shop attainment, actually gamification. So watch tonight as well.
Yes, I'll put a link in the comment field.
Yeah, I was also saying, tell people to Spree's website and Let's Go Live's website. There are really good customer cases where you can see how these companies have used gamification and what impact it's had on their companies too.
Absolutely. And as we introduced in the beginning of this webinar, I believe I made a promise, and I'm a man of my word. So we have to now fulfill that promise and look at how we're doing in the...
To be honest with you, it's really straightforward. Seems as though it's the Dutch national anthem, and from what I recall, it's very beautiful but incredibly difficult to sing national anthem. So I can't.
The Dutchman won. Okay, good. I will. I'll bring up the lyrics then and give it my best.
Do you have the music as well?
We should put that on for sure.
Have to, yeah.
I mean, I hadn't prepared it because this was spontaneous. This was live, folks.
Find it on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, no, I will do it justice.
People are dropping out now.
I see more people coming in.
Yeah, the only ones now.
Let's do it. I'll find the karaoke version, right? So I can sing along.
Sure, there is a karaoke.
I hope so. Otherwise, I'll struggle.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's do this. We're only doing the first verse, so...
Are you playing music as well?
If I can, then...
We have to have music.
Okay. Wenn ich wann durchs Blöd Den Vaterland ist over, ist die Toten den Tod. In Grenzen Yeah, okay. You get the point. I've lost my dignity, but it's okay. A man is only as good as his word, and we'll leave it at that. But thank you all so much for joining this webinar. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you had a little bit of fun as well, because that's what the name of the game is at the end of the day. Make it engaging, make it something you want to actually tune into. So I hope we did that for you, and let's see if we can do that for your customers as well.
Thank you for your time. See you, Benjamin.
Bye, guys.
Everybody.
Great.